And welcome back to another episode of Massholes with Mikes, and we are back to react to the Patriots' 36-13 win over the Tennessee Titans, the injury-riddled Tennessee Titans. I have Jordan, I have Kyle alongside to react to it. Patriots improving to 8-4 now after 12 weeks, with their destiny in their own hands, with a looming showdown with the Buffalo Bills next Monday night. But we are not here to talk about the future yet. That will be coming up in our 10 questions segment. But we are going to start reacting to the Patriots and the Titans. So, 3 up and 3 down is how we always start it, and I see no reason to try and change that now. We are going to start with the down first. Does anybody want to start, or should I get us rolling here? All right, Kyle, go right ahead.
I only had one down, and it's all petty. Hunter Henry really was kind of a non-factor in that game, which kind of screwed me in a very important fantasy matchup. But, he wasn't necessarily bad, but they just weren't really using him as much. It looked like they used Jonnu a lot more in this game, which I'm not necessarily opposed to, because I want to see Jonnu Smith kind of unlock that potential that he has. But, would have liked to see a little bit more from Hunter Henry for personal reasons.
Jordan, another down for you?
Mine's the interior defensive line. I mean, I saw the picture of Christian Barmore getting blocked by 4 dudes, so he's not included in this.
He's off to the side.
It's really Lawrence Guy and Devon Godshaw. Now, Godshaw had been playing really well the last 4 or 5 weeks, so I'll give him a kind of a pass for this one. But you give up 231 yards on the ground to Deontay Foreman and Dontrell Hilliard. I learned that name earlier thanks to Jeremy with that other podcast we were doing, but yeah, those two can't rush for 230 yards against you. You're lucky you're still very opportunistic, but that run defense was yikes and a half.
For sure. I mean, my number one down, like Jordan said, had to have been the run defense. What I'm trying to figure out, and I said this earlier, I don't know if that was necessarily by design or not. I'm wondering, did the Patriots say, all right, with Derrick Henry out, we're just not going to let Ryan Tannehill beat us, and if the running game does, so be it. Obviously, nothing in the game plan would have accounted for that 68-yard run that Hilliard ripped off at the end of the half, though. Talk about a deflating play. I mean, you had held the Titans to that point to 6 points, 16-6 going into the half. You kind of feel good about yourself with a double-digit lead. You give up that touchdown, and all the air went out of the stadium. I think the run defense will probably be better. It honestly can't be much worse. You're facing a very one-dimensional team in the Bills coming up, and that dimension is not running the ball. So they will improve, but I think that for all of us who had kind of seen the Patriots defense really step up over the last couple of weeks, dang, it took until 3 minutes in for me to have my first speaking error. Usually that happens in the intro. I just think that the Patriots' run defense is definitely still a weakness. It was a weakness in 2019 with the Boogeymen. It was a weakness last year when teams were gashing you on the ground. It's still not your strength, and I think that they're going to have to plug up some more holes in that if they hope to make any noise in the playoffs. Kyle, do you have any more downs, or you said Hunter Henry was your biggest one?
That was really it. Mostly because I guess I didn't really look at how much yards they gave up on the ground. I didn't really read into that Dontrell Hilliard play too much, because it kind of looked like they just the Titans just drew up a pretty good play to get him free, and then Devin McCourty just made a really bad attempt at an open field tackle. So I'm not gonna look at that and be like, oh man, the Pats are screwed. They're giving up that just seems kind of just like a fluke big play, because they haven't really given up many plays like that, in their run defense this year, I feel like. So in the end, I'm not really too stressed about that.
Yeah, the only other one I can think of was Eckler at the beginning of the Chargers game. Had a massive 60+ yard run.
Wasn't that a screen pass though?
No,
or maybe it was
a run.
Jackson.
You're right.
Was it Jackson or was it Eckler? One of them had a massive run the first.
It was definitely a Charger. I want to say it was Justin Jackson, like you said. He ripped off one to the left side where I think Hightower and Adrian Phillips both tried to cover the same gap, and he just popped to the left of them and was gone for a while. But yeah, that's probably the only other big run they've given up. Jordan, do you have any more downs you want to talk about before we get on to the ups?
I mean, not necessarily. I mean, Damian Harris was relatively quiet outside of that big run he had for the touchdown late. The run offense honestly wasn't great until the second half of the fourth quarter. In all honesty, they were getting bottled for much of the game, I thought. A couple nice runs here and there. Other than that, though, no, I thought the pass defense was unbelievable. They kept Tannehill under 100 yards. Judon got another sack. Bentley got a sack. I thought pass defense wise, they were good. Offense, they were fine for the most part.
So my last down will be another little nitpick, because you did put up 36 points, but on the offensive side of the ball, red zone execution was really not up to par that we have seen in the last couple of games. I mean, they were settling for a lot of field goals. Nick Folk was definitely working out that leg, and he finally missed another one, although it was 50-plus yards, so I'm not... Again, it's not a down. I mean, Nick
And
Folk's
he hit
been
another one from 50-plus
Yeah, exactly.
later,
He's
so.
been so automatic all year. It's honestly it only surprised me because I had come to expect him to make basically everything. So when he missed that one, I was
He also
pretty
missed
surprised.
it pretty bad.
Yeah, exactly. It really wasn't.
did.
It wasn't competitive at all. But the red zone execution. I mean, we saw Mac Jones miss the throw down the right side, I believe, to Hunter Henry, where he just let him too much. That would have been a touchdown. I just felt like
Kyle's fantasy team out big time.
yeah, they could have executed a little bit better down there. They kept settling for field goals and then broke it open late with a couple of touchdowns from outside the red zone, I believe. The one definitely was. I don't remember if the Damian Harris run was.
I think it might have been from like the 22, so it was close.
It was definitely close. But as I pointed out on that play, I think Trent Brown did the most effective job of tackling Damian Harris on that play because he was the only one between Harris and the end zone. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah, Damian Harris's two best runs, he almost got tackled by Trent Brown and N'Keal Harry.
That's a good point. He did get stood up by Harry pretty solidly at one point. All right, moving on to the ups. Happy stuff now. And since I went last on the downs, I'm going to lead here. And I'm going to take the obvious chalk pick off the board, and that is J.C. Jackson. And I know that we, as a collective bunch, have kind of crapped on him a lot this year, some of it being deserved, some of it maybe not so much. But the game-changing play, the play that turned the tide in this game, had to have been his strip of Deontay Foreman, however you pronounce his name, on that long run that Foreman had. I mean, the Titans were set up again inside the 30. It felt like they were living around the Patriots' 40 for most of the game. You'd look up, and they'd already be on the Patriots side of the field. I'm going, what the heck is this? And then Foreman fumbles because J.C. Jackson just makes an incredible strip sack play. And you know what? We do crap on him. This coming week will be the test because he got religiously torched 2 times last year to Stephon Diggs and the Buffalo Bills. But for right now, I mean, the CBS broadcast touched on it last, I think, 4 or 5 games. He's only given up 4 completions for 19 yards. He's got a bunch of pass breakups and a bunch of interceptions and a couple of pick sixes, I believe, too. So guess what, JC? You've been playing well. You need this new contract. Now's the time to prove it. You're going to get Diggs this week. So I am very interested to see how that matchup goes. I don't think it's going to go all that well, but if there was ever a prove-it game for him, this would be it. Jordan.
Yeah, I'm going to take the other obvious one off the board, and that's just because I remember when we did our preseason show, or not even preseason show, is when we recapped free agency. Kendrick Bourne was the contract that we all looked at and kind of was like, that might have been an overpayment. He's been awesome. Like, in all honesty, I thought that maybe Nelson Aguilar would be the best receiver on the team this year outside of Jacoby Myers because of his over-the-top ability, being able to take the top off the defense, maybe get like 6, 7, 8 touchdowns just running straight down the field. But Kendrick Bourne's been, kind of the happy balance between Aguilar and Myers, and he's put up a bunch of touchdowns on top of that. Especially the second one he had on Sunday was unbelievable, tiptoeing the sideline. I thought he stepped out of bounds like 3 different times. He didn't.
I don't know how his momentum didn't carry him out of bounds. It looked a couple of times like he was starting to sway to the right as he was falling out of bounds, and then he just stayed in. It was ridiculous.
He's awesome. I checked his numbers. He's like 7 catches and 49 yards, I think, away from career highs in receptions and yards, and he's already tied his career high for touchdowns for a season. So looking like a great pickup by Bill, even though we all kind of tagged that contract as a little bit of an overpayment.
And I'm going to steal Kyle's line here because he religiously says this to me when we watch games together on Sundays. This is the reason the Patriots will never be truly dead as long as Bill is their head coach, because you can take a guy like Kendrick Bourne and coach him up to be this type of guy. And he's been performing very admirably by far. I think the Patriots' best wide receiver, we can all agree so far this year. And he's got that swagger that you kind of need in a number one wideout, even if he's necessarily not stature-wise the number one wideout. He's not one of these big outside guys, but he makes plays, he makes contested catches, and that's really what you need from a guy like that, especially in the Patriots offense, which really doesn't need one of those diva number one DK Metcalf type of receivers, who has, I think, 1 target tonight for 0 catches at the time of this recording. So I mean, he's laying another absolute clunker for Seattle. Kyle.
I'm gonna go with another receiver. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm gonna go with one that I might end up stealing from Jordan, but I want to shout him out because I shouted him out early on in the season, and then immediately after I did that, he totally tanked. and I looked like a fool. Jalen Mills had an absolutely fantastic game. He made a bunch of really good heads-up plays. I mean, granted, you take it with a grain of salt. He wasn't exactly covering, the greatest wide receivers out there, but he was still making smart heads-up plays that you just want to see that a guy knows how to do. Like, he can't control who he's going to face. He can only control how he's going to play when he's out there, and he decided to go out there and have one of the best games he's had with the Pats. He had a fumble recovery. He had that one really clutch breakup on that third down pass that completely stifled that one drive. I was very impressed with what I saw from Mills because he'd been kind of getting, I think he was even hurt. Didn't he not play most of the game?
He was banged up
against Atlanta.
He was hurt with something early in the year. I don't know about against Atlanta, but I know he was definitely hurt.
I could have sworn he missed a bit of the game against Atlanta with an injury.
You might be right.
In the middle of the game, he kind of sat out for a bit. But no, I mean, he's been solid, and I'm glad to see that he's he had a good game.
All right, we're going to go one more time around the circle here, and I get to start, and I'm going to take another chalk pick. I went very chalk when it came to taking his 3 up and 3 down this week, but I'm going to take Jonnu Smith. And the slander is working when it comes to Jonnu Smith a little bit. We have been definitely trashing on him for a while now, and it's nice to see him finally getting off the schneid a little bit against his former team. Jordan was definitely the most vocal of our Jonnu Smith supporters heading into the year. He very much predicted big things for him, and it's good to see that he's finally starting to live up to it. Who knew a tight end sweep to Jonnu Smith, who's a real athlete in space, can work out? I know, shocking, right? The one play that I had him for maybe not as good, I didn't really love the route that he took on the play that Mac almost threw the pick 6. I thought that he didn't really fight for the ball as much as he could have.
He has a tendency to not fight for the ball. The pick that Mac threw against weird. Atlanta, he didn't really come back for it all either.
I agree. It seems like he's kind of, how when they teach you in basketball is to attack the ball when they're going for a bounce pass, you want to go to the ball. Jonnu just kind of fades away from it a little bit, expecting it to keep on coming to him, and the defender can just undercut it pretty easily. Did against the Titans, did against the Falcons. Falcons actually was a pick. Titans should have been. But Jonnu Smith overall, you had nowhere to go but up, and you went up in this game. So I'm going to give you props for it. Jordan.
This is tough because Kyle did take my other one with Mills, and then I'm like, okay, I'll say Jonnu, and then you go and take Jonnu right away.
I'm going to take my last one then.
No, I'm gonna go for somebody that's kind of under the radar. I thought overall, I think he only had 3 or 4 targets, but they all broke for I believe 9+ yards, and that was Brandon Bolden. Like I said in week 2 or whatever week James White tore his ACL. I think it was either 2 or 3. I don't think it was week 1. I said I'm totally cool with Brandon Bolden. Was it week 1?
It was week 3. It was against the Saints.
It was week 3 against the Saints. That's what I thought. I said I'm totally cool with Brandon Bolden being the pass-catching back because he's a vet. He doesn't put the ball on the ground. Now, I know he fumbled against Carolina, but he's having a career year as a pass-catching back. Yeah, it was at the very end of the game. He got stripped. It was a fumble.
Right.
They didn't lose it, but he did fumble.
Okay.
But he's been really good this year, especially he's had very timely third down, catch and runs for first downs. He's been really good in that regard. And I thought yesterday he had a couple of nice plays on some screen passes that have all of a sudden become really, really big sources of production for the Patriots after the first 4 weeks where it was just garbage.
Seriously. The running back position has definitely started to solidify itself, and Bolden is really just taking control of that third down back and not let anybody touch it whatsoever. You'd think that it would be a good role for J.J. Taylor with his elusiveness and what he showed in the preseason, but Bolden is no way. And I notice, I would like the record to so reflect, I have not slandered Brandon Bolden once this year. Maybe at the very start when he started to get more touches, I was like, why are we giving it to this guy? Yeah. But I can't slander a guy who's being productive, and that was always my big beef with Bolden is he didn't do anything. All he did was sit there on special teams, and people acted like he was the linchpin of the Patriots' success. I'm like, guys, what are we doing here? He's not doing that much, but now he is. So I give him credit, and there will be no slander from me. Kyle.
I'll round us out because you didn't take the guy I was going to say. Jacoby Myers had another great game, and I was really happy for him watching him play. I've always been very vocal about my support for Jacoby Myers and the player and the person he is. So five catches on 8 targets for 98 yards. Didn't get another touchdown, but it's Jacoby Myers. You're not really expecting touchdowns.
Touchdowns are not part of the Jacoby Myers package.
What you're expecting Jacoby Myers what you're expecting Jacoby Myers to be is just to be there in the right place at the right time when you really need him, and he was in that game. I think he had a couple pretty big third down catches to help keep some drives alive. So, shout out to Jacoby as always.
The beauty with Jacoby Myers is him being a former quarterback is he knows like where to go and like zone defense. Like he knows like, okay, this is where they're going to go, so I have to set right here. And he and Max seem to be on the same page way more often than not. Obviously not 100%, but as close to you as you can.
Interesting that it really felt like when they were trying to go deep and push the ball deep down the field, they were going to Myers and not Aguilar. Myers was the one taking those routes that were 15, 20 yards down the field and making catches and stuff. Just something to monitor going forward, but I thought that was very strange. And you know what? If it works, it works. I'm not going to complain. But it just feels like Nelson Aguilar is slowly fading a little bit more day by day out of this offense. Moving on to the general analysis portion, though, I do have a question to ask you guys because I myself felt something that I was not prepared to actually feel heading into the game. I kind of had my preconceived notions about how the game would go, but I want to hear your guys' take here. Did your confidence actually kind of go down in the Patriots after this game, after their performance? I know they won 36-13, but the injuries for Tennessee do kind of play a factor in that, and we'll get to that later. But did your confidence in the team go up or down or maybe stay the same after the game against the Titans? And Kyle, I'm going to start with you on this one.
I'll say it stayed the same, and it was not down as a whole, but my confidence in the offense has been down since the Falcons game. Because I remember, I think it was me and you were on the same page. We were arguing with, I think it was Nolan and Jeff who we were watching the game with. But we were kind of being like that was not a good performance. Like, that was a bad performance by the offense, even though they won that game. Not bad, but like you don't win with that performance against many other teams. And I think that they put up a better performance in this game, but still kind of similar. They really had to rely on Nick Folk in this game. And there's a reason why Nick Folk is the leading scorer in the NFL this year, because their red zone execution just still isn't quite there yet, like you were talking about earlier. So, I mean, I wouldn't say that it's fallen, but like I need the offense to have a really stellar game for me to feel confident, because this Buffalo defense, I mean, they've had a couple games they've gotten cooked, but they are a pretty damn good defense, even though they just lost White, I believe. Was I wasn't sure if it was White or Hyde, but yeah, they just lost White, so that's not going to be ideal for them, but they're still a pretty solid defense, so the Pats are going to need to have a pretty solid offensive showing for me to feel pretty confident, because right now they've been relying too much on their defense and special teams for them to win games.
Jordan, has your confidence gone up, down, stayed the same?
Mine's also stayed the same, and it was really tough because you still won by 3 scores, as ugly as it may have been at times. Obviously, you were only up 3 at halftime because of that massive run at the very end. I liked that even though they only had 20-ish seconds, I think it was 28 when they got the ball back, they actually made an effort to go down the field again.
Agreed.
They had 2 timeouts in 28 seconds, and they actually, I mean, it was a screen pass to start the drive, so you might as well just run it, but it got you 12 yards, and I'm like, oh, all right, they're gonna try and get into field goal range, and they did. Folk missed it, but they got him into a 53-yard field goal where he's been prone to hitting that this year. It stayed about the same. I like that they're being more aggressive. I would still like it if they didn't have to scheme Jonnu Smith open, if they just kind of let him be a receiver sometimes. And I like that they used him as a running back. I mean, he had, 4 touches for 58 yards. That was a big game for him. So it was nice to see him get involved, even though Hunter Henry suffered a little bit. Like I said, it stayed about the same because you can't ignore the injuries the Titans had the injuries the Titans had going against them. But you still won by 3 scores at home, and that was a game where, again, last year they would have found a way to lose it, and they didn't.
I definitely agree on that last point. If this was a game last year, they would have figured out a way to lose like 23-20. That's honestly what I expected the game to be like. I thought the Titans would be able to score a little bit more,
just like week 1.
I predicted 24-9, but we made those predictions. I think I made mine on like Thanksgiving. I typed those in, and I went back and looked at it when I was filling in the picks right and wrong this past last night actually, and I was like, wow, I predicted that big of a blowout, 15 points. Like I honestly heading into the game, I was pretty nervous about it. I think I sent something in the chat midway through the second quarter, and I'm like, I got a bad vibe about this game. The Titans are hanging around too much. It felt like the Patriots were just kind of giving the Titans more and more chances to kind of let them into the game. But you want to talk about, I think, first drive of the second half, Hilliard fumbles, Deontay Foreman fumbles, I think a couple drives later. The game was really put out of reach after that. I mean, Tannehill finished with 93 yards passing. They really cleaned up that interception with J.C. Jackson at the end there. Devin McCourty knocking it up in the end zone. I'm convinced Ryan Tannehill never saw him, just because he was rolling out right and he chucked it. But
Titans also had a doink.
How can we
Two,
forget?
they missed a PAT
Fat
and a field goal,
Randy
right?
doinking all over the place. It was unbelievable. Kyle at one point texts us and go, "Did he doink it?" And we were like, "Yeah." He goes, "I was in my bathroom and I thought something hit my window because I just heard
No,
the
seriously,
doink."
I swear that was the like I could, because I can like hear the broadcast and I just kind of hear them talking. Their kick is up, and I just hear like, and I'm like, and they're like, and it's no good. I'm like, what in the? and then when he did it the second time, it was the same thing, and it was like, and it's not like my volume was super loud. Like the commentators' voices were normal, and then this just like it was like a gong. Like,
Yeah,
the friggin'
agreed.
Taco Bell bong. You know, like I was like, oh my gosh, what just happened?
So we've referenced the Titans' injuries a bunch so far. I just want to ask really quickly, and then Jordan, I'm going to let you go here. Half credit or full credit for this game? Because in my opinion, this is the reason my confidence is a little bit down. The defense gave up a ton of yards, and they were facing the Titans' C squad. Meanwhile, the Patriots' offense, I kind of give them about a decent grade. Like, they kept moving the ball. Obviously, the red zone execution wasn't there, but they were facing something close to a full complement of the Titans' defense. I just cannot give the Patriots full credit for this win. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I've kind of, in my own head now, as we've been talking, convinced myself that the run defense was playing possum. Like,
By design.
Seriously, I'm thinking back to a lot of past matchups with New England and Tennessee, specifically the playoffs in 2019, and the Titans really bled the clock throughout that game running the football. I think the Patriots, they lost like 22-13 or something in that game because Brady threw that pick six late or something. I don't remember what the final score was. It was close though. And the Titans had a drive that lasted like 9 minutes because all they did was run the football. So I'm starting to think that maybe the Patriots used that against them. Like, listen, if we just make it so Tannehill literally can't throw the ball and they run it every single play, they're going to take a ton of time off the clock. We know we're going to end up pulling away in the second half with a couple of stops. Now, I mean, it got a little hairy at the end of the second quarter, but I think they were almost like, we can let them gash us on the ground because they will literally be unable to do anything in the air. I give them like 0.75 credit. I'm right in the middle. I would have been half credit, but over the course of this recording, I've been like, and maybe they did kind of let them run all over them on purpose because they knew Tannehill couldn't beat them. So they were like, if we convince them that all they have to do is run the ball to get yards, they take a ton of time off the clock, and we win that way. We give them a taste of their own medicine almost in reverse.
Kyle, I'm going to give you the final word before we move on to 10 questions. Half credit or full credit?
I give him probably around the similar to what Jordan said. I mean, I think that the Titans' game plan, regardless of who's their running back is and who their wide receivers are, is always going to be to run it down your throat. That's kind of how it goes. I mean, obviously, when they're doing it with Derrick Henry, they're a lot more formidable. So I wasn't really surprised that they did give up such a large chunk, but I think the fact that they were able to really limit them in the passing game, even though they were injured, does show that the Pats did. I mean, the Pats deserved to win that game. Their defense it was a little bit more of a bend, don't break thing when they kind of got bailed out by the pick and by the doink, but, I still think that the Pats overall, at least the defense and special teams, put together a pretty solid performance. The offense was but they got themselves in the position for Nick Folk to be automatic, except for the one time he wasn't.
At the end of the day, if this is the number one seed in the AFC, I feel really good about the Patriots moving forward, and it's not like any of the other competition is going to be that much better. Baltimore battered by injuries. The Bills obviously lost Tre'Davious White, as Kyle mentioned. Kansas City seems to be finding itself, and that should be your premier competition going down the stretch. But the Chargers just lost to the Broncos again. The Bengals are just so hit or miss, you really don't know what you're going to get. And I just named off all 7 of the current playoff teams right there. Like, I mean, it's slim pickings in the AFC, and you should feel pretty good as a Patriots fan moving forward if that was the number one seed and you were able to dispatch them in the manner in which in the manner in which you did. All right, moving on to 10 questions here. We get to kind of go around the league with a bunch of different questions, some draft related, some city related, and we will post the clip as its own separate thing, which you guys are actually watching right now. So, question number 1, Jordan, you get to start. Rank your top 3 players from the 2021 draft. That would be this year's draft, the one that just happened.
Number 3, I'm going to go with Micah Parsons. He has been unbelievable, both as a pass rusher and run stuffer. Basically, he's come as advertised. Everyone talked about how great his defensive instincts are, and he has proven that to a T. I thought it maybe would have taken him a little bit longer. I'm not saying he would have struggled out of the gate, but I didn't think he'd be this dominant this fast. Number 2, I have Mac Jones. It's a quarterback league. He's not turning the ball over. He's got almost 3,000 yards already, which is kind of hard to believe to an extent, but through 12 games, 16 touchdowns, 8 picks, 2,850 yards, an incredibly high completion rate. And then number 1, I have Jamar Chase. 50 catches, 900 yards in 11 games. He got 8 touchdowns already. He has been every bit a game changer as he was advertised as, even though still think since he maybe should have gone tackle there, but Chase is absolutely dominating right now over there.
Kyle, your 3.
I had the same 3, just in different orders.
So who'd you go with number 1?
So, for number 3, I had Mac, because I think that, he's having a solid season. Like, he's doing enough to win. He hasn't been great. He's been decent. He's been solid. He's been exactly what the Pats have needed. And he's been kind of just, like I've said a lot, he's kind of filled that Jimmy Garoppolo role where he gets the ball to his weapons and lets them do their thing. And that's really all I needed from Mac this year. And he's doing a fantastic job of that. And he's definitely looking like the best and the most polished of all the rookies. Will that be the same 5 years down the road? Who knows? But right now is the only thing that matters. And right now the Pats are in second. They basically could be in first. I don't know. Well, they obviously aren't in first, but they're pretty close to being first in the AFC with a rookie as their quarterback. So clearly he's doing something right. Number 2, I have Jamar Chase. Like you said, I will say that one thing I was right about was I said, I think Jamar Chase is going to go off early on in the season and then fade off. I was right about him going off. He did not fade off, though. He has been absolutely fantastic.
He still might.
No, but I remember week 1, I picked the Bengals to win week 1, I'm pretty sure, and I said, Jamar Chase is going to get like he's going to get like a deep bomb touchdown, and everyone's going to be like, see, that's why they didn't take so well, and then he was going to fall off. But no, he's continued to be consistently very good. I definitely think that they did make the right choice because they have a gamer now. I don't think that they're in the same position. I mean, sure, you take a tackle and, Joe Burrow is a little bit more protected. He's not getting sacked as much, but like their offensive line has honestly been fine this year. I mean, Joe Mixon has a touchdown in all of his last games dating back to, I think, like week 4, including multiple 2-touchdown games. Samaje Perine, the backup running back's having a great season. Joe Burrow.
I knew you were going to find a way to bring him into this.
Well, the reason why I'm bringing him into it is, Mixon's also a Sooner guy, but
yeah.
There was a graphic that showed that he's 4th in the league amongst backup running backs and rushing yards this year. So I was like, hey, good for him. For a guy who was literally, I think he's been in the league for, I want to say 5 years, 4 years now.
He's been kicking around a bunch of teams,
was
too.
Literally not used at any point in his first 3 years. Like, probably played like 2 or 3 games. He was able to just stick around, and then he finally got to a team that wanted him, and he's been fantastic as their backup. And he's come in when they needed him last year, even with Giovanni Bernard. But enough about him. As much as I love Pirine, his jersey's sitting over here on the ground next to me. His OU jersey, of course. And then number 1, I have Micah Parsons. I mean, he is just a game wrecker. He is just absolute, like he's. I said that I don't even know if he was even on a podcast. I don't even know if I even said it to you guys. But what I wanted them to do, and I think this was probably before Kyle Trask had his meltdown against Oklahoma, I wanted them to take Parsons in the first round and Trask in the second round because, oh man, just watching Parsons highlights and watching him play in college, he was electric, and I knew that was just going to transfer over well. And he has been, as advertised as you said, Jordan, he's just been an absolute tank. And the Dallas Cowboys probably have the best pick in the draft right now.
I think that if we were to redraft this year right now, yeah, Trevor Lawrence would probably still go number 1, and then Micah Parsons would go number 2. He's my number 1. I actually have a big fatty, Rashawn Slater, the left tackle for the Chargers, has performed very admirably for Justin Herbert at number 2, and I put it as actually a tie. I think Waddle and Chase combined both been very good. Waddle underrated, 200 less receiving yards, but 27 more catches than Jamar Chase.
With a much worse quarterback.
That's exactly what I was going to say. He's only got 4 touchdowns, but he's been used more than Chase has. Chase has been there for the big deep bomb, and he's got T. Higgins. He's got Tyler Boyd. Will Fuller's been he's just been so hit or miss. I think he's hurt again right now. Devontae Parker is always hurt as well. Waddle's doing it all with Tua as his quarterback for the suddenly resurgent Dolphins. I believe he does deserve a little bit of love in this conversation when it comes to Offensive Rookie of the Year.
He also has 3 tackles.
Yes, actually, I did see that. You're looking at Pro Football Reference too,
yes,
right?
I am.
I was looking at that earlier.
He has 2 more
today.
tackles than Jamar Chase.
Yeah, exactly. Interesting. Maybe it's because his quarterback was throwing picks to him.
Probably.
All right, moving on to question number 2. Kyle, give me one rule change that you think would improve the game.
Nice. I get to go first on this one because I feel like
I'm
someone might
very
have
interested to see
mine.
what we all say with this.
I would get rid of the fumbling out of the back of the end zone as a touchback rule. I don't really know what I'd replace it with, but I hate that rule so much. Mostly in like a petty way.
The Austin
because, like,
Safarian Jenkins rule.
Because
the N'Keal Harry rule.
And the I think was it DPJ on the Browns last year? I don't remember who fumbled.
Rashard Higgins in the playoff game. In the playoff game, right?
I didn't remember. I didn't remember which. But like in that moment, I was like, God, that's such a dumb rule. I remember when it happened to N'Keal Harry. I was like, oh, what the hell? We got all the way down there. Like what the like. Words. I think that what it should do is it should put you as a touchback, unless that would have had you gain yards, then it would push you back like a certain amount of points. But I don't feel like it shouldn't go to the other team because you fumble it out of bounds in any other place, and it's still that team's ball. Obviously, the way that they did it is because since it's in the end zone, it's like, well, what are we gonna do? You can't
it's like
give
a
it
punt
as a touchdown, you know. So there has to be some way that they can make it so that it's not like that.
Make it like a 10-yard penalty. Or like
I
a
mean,
5-yard
there
penalty.
are a bunch of solutions that we could do to this one. Mine is actually interesting. I wanted to go outside the box and not take an onside kick rule. So I'm going to change it. I'm going to go with all DB hand fighting rules. I want them completely overhauled. I want PI back to 15 yards, and I also want holding an illegal contact not to be an automatic first down. I want them to be 5 yards, not an automatic first down. 3rd and 10 on a hold should not be a first down. I hate that. I think that's dumb because it often feels like teams get bailed out by these like phantom holding calls, or even if it is a holding call, it's 5 yards. Why do you deserve to get a first down on 3rd and 10? That doesn't make any sense to me. That's stupid. Make it so that way it's 5 yards and no automatic first down. I think that would be a good rule. It would force teams to try and, defenders would have a little bit more leeway, first of all. I think PI, spot foul, has just ruined the game because wide receivers can buy PI flags, and I think that's the dumbest thing in the world. Jordan.
Yeah, I went with more of a basic one that's just incredibly annoying. Get rid of the taunting penalty. Like seriously,
thank God. Yes, absolutely.
I saw a tweet a couple weeks ago that was hilarious. It was like, hey, at NFL, I saw Tyreek Hill point to the defensive back, and now my 3-year-old son's addicted to drugs. Thanks, clean this up. I
saw one of those last week, or for this past weekend. It was because Kendrick Bourne quickly flashed a peace sign as he scored his second touchdown, and someone said, "Great, my son saw this, and now he's addicted to crack. Thank you, at NFL."
Nobody wanted this penalty to be a thing. I don't know why the NFL has implemented it. It's just why? Get rid of it. Let players just get hyped up when they make big plays and don't penalize them 15 yards. What they do with what Cam Newton did after he got his first touchdown against Arizona, where he takes his helmet off and he's screaming into the camera. That's a flag. But if you point at somebody, really.
It's gotten to the point where we're giving
gesture.
refs too much power to try and decide whether or not something is excessive, and oftentimes they go way over the line, so it's got to stop. I'm okay with a taunting penalty being in place. I think there are some celebrations that merit that, but too many are getting flagged this year, and I think we can all agree on that, because 15 free yards is just ridiculous. All right, question number 3, and I get to start on this one. With the current playoff picture as it stands, I think we can all agree that there are 5 teams in the NFC that stand basically apart from the rest, even though one might be falling back to the pack a little bit more. So obviously, one of them isn't making it to divisional weekend. One's going to get a bye, but one of them's going to get eliminated in the first round of the playoffs. So who's it going to be? And obviously the teams are Dallas, Tampa Bay, Green Bay, the Rams, and the Cardinals. I had to pick a team to get eliminated in the first round, and I'm going to take Arizona. They're the team that has yet to be there and done that of the 4 teams. So I'm going to take them simply for the fact that I think Kingsbury's terrible coaching record will catch up to him in a big playoff game. I think he's going to kind of wet himself. It's nothing that Kyler will do. I think he's still immensely talented. As long as that ankle holds up, he'll be fine. I worry about health with the Cardinals, and I worry about their coach. And I think those are 2 big reasons to pick against them in a playoff game right now. Jordan.
My preseason Super Bowl pick. Goodbye, Los Angeles Rams. These guys stink right now. Matthew Stafford, like literally what I thought coming into the season was Matthew Stafford put up all these numbers on the Lions, and I was like, this is a huge test for him, but I think he's a talented quarterback. He should be fine. This is a lot of talent. Primetime games won't catch up to him. Great team. He can overcome it. No. He can't. He's 5-0 against team, or no, he's like 6-0 against teams under 500 and like 2-4 against teams below 500 this year or whatever, something like that. He's been horrible in games against teams above 500, like to the point where he's getting blown out by the Niners in prime time. It's like it's really concerning, and I think in the playoffs, I think he could end up facing the Niners again, and I think the Niners could beat him, especially since the way Jimmy Garoppolo's been playing. They can put up some points. If Deebo Samuel's healthy, they can put up points, and I don't think the Rams will be able to keep up.
Kyle.
Too many mouths to feed.
Yeah, I had the Rams as well. I mean, they've already been embarrassed by 2 of the teams that we just named, that being the Cardinals and the Packers. Well, I guess not really by the Packers, but, I think that teams are starting to figure them out a little bit, because it looked like, from the little bits of that game that I was able to catch, it kind of looked like the Packers had really figured out how to, play against them just in the same way that the Niners did. It's almost like they had the same game plan. And I'm thinking that people are starting to kind of figure out how to beat the Rams. And, sure, they ended up getting close in that game. I think they kind of got bailed out by OBJ. But I think that, I think the Rams.
All right, Jordan. Moving along a little bit quicker now because we are starting to run a little short on time. Permanently change one part of the Patriots uniform and tweak it.
Taking the home uniform and just making the pants gray again. It just looks too weird with it all blue.
Giant blueberries running around the field.
Yeah.
I agree. Kyle.
Red alternate.
Okay, that was definitely. I figured that one of us was going to say it. If Jacqueline was here, I'm sure she'd say it as well because I'm pretty sure she's a big fan of the red alternate. I said white helmets, and I've gone back and forth.
I knew you were
going to
say that.
Exactly.
I actually wrote down not white helmets, red alternate, because I hate the white helmets, especially with the blue
like
jerseys.
the white helmets. I like the white helmets. You can put the new Flying Elvis logos on there. Alternatively, because I knew Kyle would not like my white helmet idea, go back to the blue that they had with like Bledsoe and Brewski with that kind of like Dodger blue. Think that would be nice, kind of go away from the Navy for a little bit and see how that works. It's just an idea. I just like the white helmets a lot. White helmets with white face masks, you're looking like the Bills with that Patriots logo on the side. It looks really cool. Jordan, I can send you an edit of that later.
You want to look like the Bills?
I think the Bills have some clean uniforms. They also have the red alternates, if you remember that as well. All right, moving on to question number 5. Kyle, what's your Green Bay do about Aaron Rodgers in the offseason?
Send him to the farm up north. I don't know.
So you still think that he should leave after the year?
Yeah, I think that the optics with all the ish that he's done, and all the stuff that he put this team through, I wouldn't be surprised if they let him go. Also because I think right now the Packers are probably the Super Bowl favorite, and I think that if he wins the Super Bowl, then they're going to be like, all right, see you later.
This is how it ends. It's the last dance.
And I think that would be an amicable. And that would be an amicable way for them to do it. I think they probably trade him, or he has an opt out. I don't know how it would work, but I think that would be a good way for both sides to end. If they're like, all right, you know what, like we had our differences, but we're going out on top. We're gonna go our separate ways.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but they have to keep Aaron Rodgers after this year. And you know how much I hate Aaron Rodgers, but Lord, has he proven to pay dividends for this Packer organization time after time after time. We saw Jordan Love, albeit in a semi-unfair situation because he was in Kansas City, but he did have a full week of reps. Let's not forget it. Rodgers tested positive, I think, Monday morning of that week. And Jordan Love got all the reps and still laid an absolute clunker against the Chiefs. So I think that you honestly have to keep him. You may have to go and acquiesce to some of his demands. Matt LaFleur could be out after this year. This could be one of the more wild off seasons in a city where they're just not used to drama. I mean, let's face it, it's dreary old Wisconsin up north. Like, all they have to worry about is if their cheese curds have spoiled or not. Like, this is going to be insane.
Because nothing dramatic has happened in Wisconsin this year.
That's a good point, actually. What am I saying? Jordan.
I actually have a team to trade him to. I think they should capitalize on desperation and trade him to the New York Football Giants.
I like that. I thought you said Russell Wilson was going there as well.
I did, but I have changed my mind. I think the Giants are desperate enough to take the bigger. No, I mean they're going to trade
both of them in the room.
Yeah, like they're both in the room. But I think trade him. You get Daniel Jones back. He's better than Jordan Love, and you also probably get 2 first-round picks and maybe another player. I think that's a pretty solid return for a 39-year-old. I think he'll be at the time, especially since he's also a grade A diva. And I like the idea of him staying in a big market. I don't like the idea of him going to like Denver. And I think the Niners are kind of out of the question.
For him.
Vegas could be interesting, but I think they love Derek Carr there. I think they love him enough to the point where they might want to try and build around him a little better.
Personally, I don't think they do. I think they're going to try and make the splash, but it's interesting to see. Question number 6, which team needs a new quarterback the most? You could have answered Packers here. I did not. I'm going to shout out Pat here. The Steelers need a new quarterback. Man, do they blow. Oh, man. I mean, that drubbing against the Bengals should say it all. That team sucks with Roethlisberger. He's absolutely cooked. He looks pudgy and fat in that uniform. Get him out of Pittsburgh and get a new quarterback.
It's a shame that there weren't any good quarterbacks in this draft class available.
Seriously.
When Ben Roethlisberger could have easily just retired.
That might legitimately be the worst quarterback room in football.
Help out
character-wise and play and performance-wise, just the worst quarterback room.
Help out Pat. Help out Davis, Kevin Colbert, and get the Steelers a new quarterback. Jordan.
Listen, this again.
Malik Lewis season.
My pick is because they are a Super Bowl team outside of the quarterback position. Cleveland Browns. I don't think Baker Mayfield is the guy that can lead them to a Super Bowl. It's not even a Baker dig.
No, you're right.
He's like he's like probably still top 18 in the league. I know he's hurt, but 3 seasons out of his 4, he's been sub 55 QBR. I think they need a better quarterback to win. There's too many players on it. Too many of his teammates' dads are calling him out on Facebook. Man, I just think they need to get real and realize that they need a better quarterback to win it. Everything else on their team is Super Bowl ready. I don't think he is.
Kyle,
put Baker on the Giants. Let's see what happens. Give him Sterling Shepard again. I'd love it. No, for me, wait, which question are we on? Oh, the Broncos. I love the Broncos roster. They have such a fun roster. They've got a really bunch of solid players on their defense. Like, I love Patrick Surtain. Great pick 6 last week. I love a lot of their offensive weapons, but Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater both stink.
Yes, they do.
Apparently, Kendall Hinton is now being used as a. I saw his name again because apparently
the emergency guy.
Yeah, Bridgewater's hurt, and Locke might not. Like they said, if Locke gets hurt, Hinton is the backup. So
let's stop going back to this guy.
This is real Julian Edelman emergency QB situation for the Broncos again.
Seriously.
Yeah.
All right, question number 7. Troy Aikman on the broadcast for Packers and Rams called Robert Woods a top 3 wideout in the NFL, and I don't think any of us agree with that. But that begs the question, who are your top 3 wideouts? Jordan?
This is going to be in no order, and I'm going to name 4. I know it says top 3, but
Okay.
I think they're really interchangeable. No order, Tyreek Hill, DeAndre Hopkins, Devontae Adams, and Justin Jefferson. Those are my top 3. Like it's like 1A, 1B, I think, with Jefferson and Hopkins, and then the other 2 fill it out. Jefferson. There's no wide receiver in the league that can do what Justin Jefferson does. I think.
Kyle.
Number 3, I have Diggs. Number 2, I have Hopkins. Number 1, I have Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams, far and away, in my opinion, the best wide receiver in football. Stephon Diggs, number 2, and unfortunately, Tyreek Hill, number 3. It'd be ironic if I could put him lower on that list because he sustains an injury. All right, question number 8. What team do you want to face the least in the playoffs? And we'll do this both ways. What place do you not want to travel to, first of all, if you're the Patriots? And what team do you not want coming in here? Kyle.
Kansas City. Kansas City knows how to beat us here. They're looking a lot better now. I think in the last 3 trips that they've had here, they're, I believe they're 1-2, or no, 2-1 or 2-0. Maybe in the last 2. I don't remember. I
think we faced them in Kansas City last year, so they've won their last one that they've been here for. They're on a 1-game winning streak.
But they
Oh,
also
yes,
beat
with
us
Alex
with Alex
Smith
Smith.
in 20. Yes, you're right.
So they're
you're
2-0 in their last 2 trips to Foxborough.
No, because
two and
the
one.
Patriots
2-1.
won. Yeah, the Patriots won in 2018.
Okay.
43-40
in the play.
Yeah.
David Price pitched in Game 2 that night as well. Jordan was at that game.
Yeah, I was.
I watched that game alone. I was flipping back and forth, Red Sox and Patriots. So, Kyle, you say Kansas City for both?
Yeah, because I wouldn't want them have them come here because they know how to beat us. And then I would also just the idea of Mac Jones having his first playoff game being Kansas City, good riddance.
I agree. I don't want to go to Kansas City in whatever round. Forget that AFC Championship game. You have to go to Arrowhead to get to the Super Bowl. I don't like my odds there. In terms of teams that I don't want coming in.
I don't like my odds, but if you got that far, whatever. With
fair.
a rookie quarterback.
Team I don't want coming in is definitely Tennessee. Derrick Henry would be healthy by that point if they made it there. You still have Tannehill and A.J. Brown. Talk about a guy who knows how to win here. Mike Vrabel. I mean, the Titans should not have hung in that game as long as they did on Sunday, let alone a playoff game, and he's done that already. I'm going to take the Titans for that pick. Jordan.
Yeah, this sucks because those were my two.
I'm sorry.
I don't like the idea of Mac Jones going into Kansas City. I don't think he'd necessarily suck, but you definitely that's definitely the hardest matchup, I think, is going into Arrowhead, especially since the Chiefs' defense has played a lot better lately. And then, yeah, Derrick Henry will be healthy if they come here. So will A.J. Brown. So will Julio Jones. You didn't see any of them on Sunday, and you have the game. I mean, I'm sure they'd hold up well against at least one of those receivers, but
probably Julio.
All right, question number 9. What sports city deserves a second football team like New York, like L.A.? And I believe I get to start on this one. Chicago. Get that city a second football team so they can stop having to look at the sorry existence that is the Chicago Bears. I mean, God, that franchise just blows, doesn't it? From top to bottom, they just suck. They're going to be on the thumbnail for this clip part of it, and it's going to be second football team? ? Because, man, Chicago really could deserve one. Jordan.
I am going to go with...
last.
You see... it's kind of a cop-out. I'm saying Nevada because I'm thinking Reno. Like, keep them in gambling areas. Like, that would be the perfect place to put another team, would be in the Nevada, Las Vegas, Reno area. Somewhere in there. Do that.
All right. Kyle, wrap us up on this one.
Third New York City team.
Whoa. Okay, and why?
Because it would just be funny if they imagine they just added another team in New York City, just into the fray. Like, it would just be absolute chaos because they'd obviously suck. Like,
no, they would obviously suck.
And I'm saying, like, they'd be like separate, like they'd be kind of like the NYCFC, and they'd have like a stadium in the city somehow, like they'd play games like friggin' Yankee Stadium or something, and it would just be absolute crap show, and it would be hilarious.
All right, and to finish it up here, Bills question. I did say we were going to talk about the Bills, so give me your favorite Bills game of all time. Bills Patriots, memory, game, whatever you want. What do you remember most fondly about playing the Buffalo Bills? Jordan, you get to start here, and I get to finish.
Vince Wilfork absolutely murdering somebody in pass coverage like maybe a decade ago. I don't remember who it was. Went up for like a screen pass. I think it was from Ryan Fitzpatrick, so that's even funnier. And Vince Wilfork just absolutely murdered him.
Love that. Kyle.
I could not really think of anything until I got this from like the recesses of my mind.
I like where this is going.
Matthew Slater's first career touchdown came against the Bills.
I didn't know that. Was it in 2009?
It was a blocked punt in 2019.
Oh yes, you're right.
He blocked the punt, or I don't know if he blocked it, but it was blocked, and he returned it for a touchdown. Brandon Bolden was there celebrating because that was when he was the special teams guy, and because I couldn't really think of a specific Bills moment, but I was like, wait, I love Matthew Slater, and I was really happy for him when he got that because he's like in the end zone, he's like, yeah, he looks like Brandy Chastain, he's like, oh my god, he's
nice.
Going nuts. So,
and
gotta love that.
And my two Bills memories, one, 2009, Brady's first game back from his ACL. They were wearing the red alternates, I believe, and he led them on a comeback, 2 touchdowns in the final 2 minutes. Ben Watson, game-winning touchdown to beat the Bills 25-24, I believe.
The geriatric unit.
Yep, exactly. And then 2019, Saturday night football, Mike Tirico and Kurt Warner, I believe, were on the call, and that was the night the Patriots clinched the division for the final time with Brady and Belichick. Matt Lacoste caught a touchdown. It reaffirmed my hatred forever for Mohamed Sanu, and his terrible blocking ability caused a fumble, if I remember correctly. That was probably the last happy moment I had with Brady as a Patriot because they were really reeling after they had lost to the Steelers. They had I think they lost another bat. No, it wasn't the Steelers that year, was it? I don't remember. But they were having some really, really
No,
tough.
they opened the season with a crushing win over the Steelers. That
Yes,
was
or-
the
yes.
we're down by 30
That's
moment.
true. Favorite Pat moment there of all time. That was a very tough December for the Patriots. They really struggled, but they did beat the Bills enough to secure the division and kept them at bay for one more year. I went into an overnight shift after that game ended from 10 to 6 in the morning, and I rode that high all the way to that 6 a.m. when I finished, clocked out, and then crashed. But that was a good game. I enjoyed that game immensely. Jordan.
Honorable mention: Brandon Bolden had a 137-yard rushing performance in his fourth career game against Buffalo. They won 52-28. That was right before he got popped for PEDs. So
Tough.
I wonder why.
where the 137 yards came from. But that was half of his rushing production for the season came in that game.
That's awesome. All right, that's going to do it for us. You can follow us on all of our social medias at Mass with Mics, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Massholes with Mics on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Thank you to Jordan. Thank you to Kyle for joining me. Enjoy the Thursday night game. I think the Patriots aren't playing yet until Monday, so our schedule may be a little bit wonky for the rest of the week. We will get back to you when we get back to you. Thank you guys for tuning in, whether it be on the clip, whether it be on the main episode. Check out the main episode if you're watching the clip, and we will see you guys again next time. Thank you very much, and have a good day.